In the latest attempt to prevent refugees from entering the UK, London has confirmed it will build a wall around the notorious jungle refugee camp in the French port town of Calais. Construction of the concrete structure, which will be 1 kilometre long and 4 metres tall, is due to start this month. Its cost is estimated at over €2 million and it's due to be completed by the end of this year. RT's Polly Boko reports.
Well, the UK's immigration minister said it would be a big new wall for Calais built by the British government in order to safeguard the drivers going down the motorway past the jungle camp and on towards the ferry terminal where they board those ferries that are headed towards the UK.
There are people still getting through.
It's a fence, not a wall, isn't it? We don't confuse it.
We've done the fence, now we're doing a wall.
So the idea is to safeguard the drivers and the holidaymakers going past, because in recent weeks the attacks against drivers have got more frequent and more vicious and more brazen. So the government says that they're doing this in order to protect drivers, but the industry representatives for truck drivers in the UK, the Road Haulage Association, it's criticised the move.
It's effectively a waste of taxpayers' money. So what will happen, as we've already seen, is that these highly organised migrant gangs will simply cause their roadblocks, their obstructions that they use as a way of creating a traffic jam to then get stowaways on board British-bound lorries. They will simply move those those roadblocks, as it were, back 2, 5, 10 kilometres. And the real underlying problem is not being tackled, which is that there is a very large camp there, which has not been dismantled, with a lot of migrants in a desperate situation, organised, if you like, in terms of this smuggling by very, very organised gangs. And that's a real problem. That's not going to go away just because we build a wall.
The Twitter spheres exploded with criticism of the new strategy and with satire, really, as well. Many people can't resist comparing all this to Donald Trump's idea of building a wall between the US and Mexico. Many say that Donald Trump's just talking about building a wall in order to keep migrants out, whereas the British government is actually going ahead with the very same idea.
Now, France's Interior Minister announced on Thursday that the Calais jungle camp will be dismantled. And to discuss this issue, I'm joined by radio presenter John Gaunt and political commentator Mo Anzar. Firstly, thank you both for joining us here on RT International. Now, charities, they're already warning that dismantling the Calais jungle will only make the situation worse. What do you think about this, John?
Well, will it make it worse? It can't be much worse than it is. 9,500 people living in complete and utter squalor. Let's just state categorically, though, it's not a British problem. It's not a United Kingdom problem. It's wholly a French problem. They've got an abysmal asylum system. They're not organising it. They're not taking out any vulnerable children that are there. They have social services. It's a French problem. The French have to solve it. Nothing at all to do with Britain. But just on that wall, that won't protect our truckers, both women and men. What we actually need now is French troops on the ground protecting our brave truckers.
Mo Anzar, what do you think about it? Is it the right solution?
No, I think John's absolutely, as per usual. Sometimes he's not bad, actually. He's off the mark on this one, I'm afraid. Hannah Arendt wrote in the 1950s and 60s a lot about the banality of evil. And she looked at the oppression, she followed the Eichmann trial, she looked at the oppression of German Jews coming from a secular Jewish family herself, and the idea of being a refugee and an asylum seeker and a migrant. And it's exactly this kind of rhetoric, it's exactly this kind of increasing rhetoric which demonises migrants. I mean, at the end of the day, Britain pre-Brexit, I mean, we're not quite in a Brexit means Brexit situation yet, but Britain was subject to the Dublin Accords, which said that asylum seekers in France were able to claim asylum here in the UK. The idea that you dismantle a camp where you've got thousands of people, who 90% of whom are refugees, please leave the oinking and squeaking just for a second. second. Let me finish my point, and then you can come in, right?
Don't be rude. Don't be rude. I mean, you're telling the truth. 90% of them are not refugees.
90%. The UNHCR and Frontex have both said
and
that
we never had an
of the
agreement.
people coming
we
to
never
Europe
had an agreement they
are
could
refugees.
seek
Now we need to find a little bit of humanity, John. I know these are foreign concepts for you, but we need to look into our hearts. We need to find some humanity. We need to accept the people who need to come over here. This isn't purely a French problem. The idea that we build a Donald Trump-style wall, we need to be building bridges right now in civilization, not walls.
Now, the French Interior Minister, he said...
Hang on a minute. He's totally misrepresented what I said, which is why he's banned on most BBC and most TV
But, John,
stations.
you did say that it was a French problem.
No, he's totally...
stations, John. I'm not
excuse
banned.
me. He totally misrepresented me. What I said was it's a wholly
But, John, you
French
just libelled me and said I'm banned. If you want to take the libel back, if you want to take the defamatory comment back, say I'm banned. I'm not banned, John. I'm not banned.
Well, I think you are, my friend. Let's go
No,
back
you
to the
need
point.
to take that back, John, because I'm afraid that's wrong. And we need to talk about migrants here.
Gentlemen, we can't hear either of them. And John,
and defame them, that's not right.
Mo. John, he did...
I'm not willing to continue. Yeah, I'm not willing to continue.
John,
if
Mo did say... you did say it was a French problem, John, didn't you? You said it wasn't a British problem.
No, but hang on a minute. Don't you misrepresent me either. It is a French problem. These people are in France. It's a wholly French problem. The French should deal with it. If those migrants get to Britain, it becomes a British problem. Mo answer is completely and utterly, factually wrong. We have never accepted asylum seekers who are claiming in France. You can only claim asylum if you are in Britain. There was a proposal by some top French politicians that our people should start to evaluate them in France, but that is not what we do. It's not the process. It's a French problem. The French are not dealing with it. And the
Nadir,
French
if I can just
should
come back
deal
to
with
that.
John, let's look at it.
I'll take lessons from Mo Answer on terms of humanity. Our country is one of the most tolerant in the world.
OK, shall we go, John, let's look at your points.
Accepted many asylum seekers. I will not be painted as a racist by somebody like Mo Answer. OK,
Mo, before you answer that, John, let's look at the clip now and see exactly what those French politicians proposed about the people living in Calais and seeking asylum in the UK while they were in France. Just let's have a look. OK, Mo, we'll let you answer this first, John, if you don't mind. Mo, the UK obviously dismissed this proposal, saying it will lead to even more migrants in Britain. Mo, let's hear your view on this first, and then we'll come to you, John.
That's fine. Firstly, I think it's important that viewers are well informed, and prior to Brexit, Britain was bound by the Dublin Convention, which essentially allowed migrants and potential refugees who then, once their asylum is accepted under the UN Convention, they're then defined as being refugees. But if they're being persecuted, they're escaping war, as the UN have said, 90% of those arriving at the shores and at the borders of Europe are 90% of refugees, not economic migrants. They are, according to the Dublin Convention, they're absolutely entitled to apply to enter. Now, Britain has taken far below its fair share of refugees, and as a result, and post-Brexit, what France are now saying, and I think Cazeneuve said it as well, that they're going to need to set up an asylum hotspot there where people are able to apply and come here. And the reason for that is Brexit. So, if you want to look at tackling extremism, if you want to look at tackling radicalisation, if you want to sift through and make sure you've got the right kind of people, or you want to look at vulnerable children, I think the vulnerable unaccompanied children are now up some 200%. We need to find some humanity. We can't find racist rhetoric. We've got to allow refugees and asylum seekers in. We can't just paddle away from Europe. Europe will be there, and we have an obligation to humanity. And if we decide to put up walls and take a hard line, then the French will need to, quite appropriately, take measures to ensure that we take our fair share.
OK, John, here's your chance.
Well, Well, simply, you've got somebody on who's ill-informed. The bottom line is the Dublin Convention doesn't say any such thing. The Dublin Convention talks about claiming asylum in the first safe country, which for many of those people wouldn't even be France. Now, we've got a perfect right under the Dublin Convention, which will still be in place after Brexit, and indeed under the Touquet Agreement. We would be able to return these people if we wished. This is a French problem because they are on French soil. Certain right-wing French politicians are trying to suggest, to try and stem off the problem of the Front National and Marine Le Pen. They're trying to talk tough on this and say that Britain should do more. We do enough. If people get to our country and claim asylum, they're treated in the right way. We have the correct methodology. Also, our former Prime Minister, David Cameron, said he would take 20,000 people in from the camps, which is the right idea, in Jordan, etc. And when we talk about the unaccompanied children, may I point Mr. Answer to the BBC report, which is talking about this today. The biggest rise in so-called unaccompanied children are children between the ages of 17 and 18. Can I refer him to the attack in Bavaria with a machete by a man who claimed he was a boy, he'd been living there for a year, claimed he was an Afghanistani. He actually turns out to be a Pakistani, and he turns out to be 25. We are not hardline on this at all. We're just saying this is not our problem. And the French want to shove the problem on. That's why there's these threats about tearing up the Touquet Agreement, which, of course, was completely scotched by Hollande and May when they met. It's not going to happen. It's a French problem. The French could deal with it if they wanted.
OK, John,
and indeed, if the EU was worth anything, they would have sorted out this problem many, many months ago, and they'd be sorting out
OK, John,
where
John,
Assad
Mo,
is
John,
dropping
Mo, we could
chlorine
talk
bombs
all
on
night
3-year-old
about
children.
this. John and Mo, really good. I don't know if it was good, but good to talk to you both. Thank you very much. Radio presenter John Gaunt and political commentator Mo Ansar.
Thank you very much. Let the refugees in. Let the refugees in.
Very controversial there. Thanks both.